In a dark warehouse, there was the sound of people gasping from running, while the person chasing them seemed to be casually walking towards the person. The mysterious man ordered the rope relic to tie up the person who was trying to escape. And after the rope relic caught the running person's leg, the running man fell hard and hit the floor. The man who attacked the other man read out the identity of the person he caught and called the person guilty of selling drugs, after which the man who attacked the other man mentioned about the murder request of Seo Joo-Heon but received no news. The man who carried out the attack introduced himself as John Smith. The man selling drugs laughed and said that he was trying to solve the problem, and promised that if he was given more time then he would be able to kill Seo Joo-Heon and take the relic. And with that, John claimed that Seo Joo-Heon was the owner, making the people on the floor fail to understand why John wanted to kill his own owner. John took out Tutankhamun's relic, and after Tutankhamun cast his spell, slowly the person was consumed by a curse, and slowly he could feel his body aging, and it seemed that Tutankhamun's curse was working well, as they saw the person begin to dry out. John asked the rope relic to release the person, and the rope relic immediately asked for his fee, making John unable to think if the rope relic wanted to be paid, and with that John paid 500 won to the rope relic. John felt lucky because previously Seo Joo-Heon had told the rope relic not to ask too much from his slaves, because the money that the relics had came from Seo Joo-Heon. Seeing the rope relic, who was very happy when he got his fee and couldn't wait to do the next job, Anubis also moved to check the name list again. And on the other hand, a man was seen who was angry because his subordinates were targeted by someone, while other men in the room said that their subordinates had been cursed, but it seemed that the man there did not believe in the curse. Another man there tried to mediate them and said that this had something to do with the assassination request for Seo Joo-Heon. All the people who intended to kill Seo Joo-Heon and those who helped him have all been targeted, and with that they reached the conclusion that Seo Joo-Heon was the mastermind behind this murder case. But they don't know what to do now to revoke the title of king from Seo Joo-Heon. But because the decision was made directly through the system from Pandora, they could not do anything, and there was a chaotic atmosphere. Yoon Si-woo was dizzy because strange events continued to arrive while CEO Kwon was still missing and could not be found. And with Seo Joo-Heon, who continued to make problems, TBM group began to be internally chaotic due to problems that were not resolved. Yoon Si-woo intended to find a solution to this problem himself, but suddenly someone entered by kicking the door of the meeting room. Everyone there was surprised and asked the person who had just entered and immediately looked for the system used to register relics. But the people there did not allow that person to do such arbitrary things. The person who turned out to be Julian began to release his power to threaten all of them who were there, and an explosion caused by Julian's lightning destroyed the room. On the other hand, a car was seen driving, and seen Seo, who was talking to Seo Joo-Heon about Anubis carrying out his duties. Seo Joo-Heon this time was sure that Anubis would not run away like before, and with that Seo Joo-Heon did intend to release him from his restraints and told him to do some of Seo Joo-Heon's work. But Yoo Ji-ha in the back seat called Seo Joo-Heon because he couldn't understand why Seo Joo-Heon had to recapture Louis. Seo Joo-Heon explained that Louis had to work with him because of his talent. But not only that, Seo Joo-Heon brought up the incident where Yoo Ji-ha himself almost died thanks to Louis kicking him before. Yoo Ji-ha, hearing that, looked at Louis with an annoyed face and promised to keep an eye on Louis. Seo Joo-Heon was happy that Yoo Ji-ha wanted to keep an eye on him, but it seemed like a cell phone ringing sound was heard and there was a call from Julian. Seo Joo-Heon told Seo to pick up the call. Seo Joo-Heon greeted Julian on the other side, but those who heard the noise from Julian asked what exactly happened there. Julian explained that he was now in Pandora to cancel his relic registration while attacking several people there who made noise heard on the cell phone call. Seo Joo-Heon praised Julian's good work and asked why Julian was calling him now. Julian started talking if he had some interesting news. Julian said that the people who were being hunted by Anubis were all here and Yoon Si-woo was part of those people. Julian had asked Yoon Si-woo for some information before, and it seemed like something was going to happen soon. Julian then mentioned the children of CEO Kwon, and because CEO Kwon disappeared, the children of CEO Kwon blamed TBM. CEO Kwon had two sons and one daughter, and they all had small businesses. But unfortunately, they were never raised to know the world of relics because they live in the shadow of CEO Kwon. Even so, there is one person who has no expertise with relics, unlike the other two children. The first child, named Kwon Sung-woo, has no talent in the use of relics. After hearing the news that his father had disappeared, it would be very strange if his son just stayed silent. But it seemed that the three of them did not have a good relationship, and the three of them also did not seem to help each other. Seo Joo-Heon smiled because this meant that they would be split into several divisions, and that would be a big advantage for Seo Joo-Heon. CEO Kwon's first son, Kwon Sung-woo, had worked as an executive and strengthened his position at a young age, but unfortunately he had no talent when it came to relics. Meanwhile, Kwon Sung-woo was talking to Yang Chen, who was his subordinate, and discussing about Joo-hee, who had no interest in the relic world. Sung-woo seemed angry that someone named Joo-hee was more concerned about his midterm exams. Yang Chen was told to go back to persuade Joo-hee. Sung-woo seemed upset because he wouldn't be in this kind of trouble when he could open CEO Kwon's safe. Yang Chen instead called Sung-woo unable to open it, and that earned him a sharp look from Sung-woo. Sung-woo explained that he couldn't open it because he didn't have enough dominance power, and Yang Chen apologized for offending Sung-woo. But someone named Joo-hee can open his father's safe, and he needs to win Joo-hee's heart before Sung-jae precedes him. Because of Yang Chen's stupidity, he ends up offending Sung-woo again and starts comparing him to Sung-jae, which manages to make Sung-woo angry at Yang Chen. And he orders Yang Chen to persuade Joo-hee, because CEO Kwon's relic only belongs to Sung-woo. CEO Kwon's second and third children had the talent to use the relic. Even in the previous life, Seo Joo-Heon had taught them both. Meanwhile, elsewhere, someone was seen looking at a photo of Seo Joo-Heon and reading a report about him. Yang Chen explained to Joo-hee that Seo Joo-Heon was someone who could threaten the TBM, while Yang Chen was still explaining about his needs with Joo-hee, but it seemed that Joo-hee was fascinated by Seo Joo-Heon's good looks. And sure enough, Joo-hee seemed more interested in Seo Joo-Heon than listening to Yang Chen's explanation. Yang Chen was a little upset, but he tried to explain calmly if Seo Joo-Heon was just a person who caused trouble among the excavation team. Yang Chen rejected the words of Joo-hee, who said if Seo Joo-Heon was an actor, and asked her to stop admiring Seo Joo-Heon. Yang Chen then showed some portraits of Seo Joo-Heon's subordinates. But again and again, Joo-hee was mesmerized when she saw the appearance of Yoo Ji-ha da Seol-ah. Even she couldn't cover her admiration when she saw the photo of Irene, which made Yang Chen upset to hear all that. And instantly, Yang Chen shouted to surprise Joo-hee, who was lost in her own thoughts. Yang Chen again discussed if they were all his enemies now, but Joo-hee didn't seem to care and left this task to her brother. But Yang Chen didn't think it was a good idea because he couldn't imagine if the second son of CEO Kwon had all the relics for himself. Because Yang Chen was sure that the second son would not be able to fight Seo Joo-Heon with his personality like that, and said that Joo-hee was his only hope. But Joo-hee still said that he was not interested in relics at all. But Yang Chen said that he only needed to help him a little, and that made Joo-hee interested. Yang Chen smiled triumphantly when Joo-hee was willing to help him as long as the task was not heavy. And with this, the two of them planned to get CEO Kwon's relic in sight and destroy Seo Joo-Heon's team. Meanwhile, Seo Joo-Heon is still in his house regretting that he didn't get more information about CEO Kwon's 3 children, because Seo Joo-Heon believes the 3 of them must be fighting each other, with Sung-woo taking CEO Kwon's word for it, and Sung-jae doing whatever he liked. While Joo-hee didn't try to mediate the dispute, Seo Joo-Heon would use one of these 3 kids to get CEO Kwon's relic from his safe. CEO Kwon put all his relics in an impenetrable safe and hid it from everyone, although someone managed to find it, but only CEO Kwon or his son could open the safe. Although Seo Joo-Heon did not intend to take CEO Kwon's relics, but seeing the situation of the 3 brothers, he had the opportunity to do so. Seo Joo-Heon intended to kidnap one of them and make him open the safe door. But Seo Joo-Heon needed actual information to carry out the kidnapping. Seo Joo-Heon asked Seo to carry out the task of spying on them, but someone knocked on the door of Seo Joo-Heon's house, which made everyone in there surprised and turned their heads. Yoo Ji-ha was surprised when he heard the person using Korean to speak. Before opening the door, Yoo Ji-ha called Seo Joo-Heon if there was someone who wanted to meet with him. Yoo Ji-ha opened the door and saw a man standing in front of it. Yoo Ji-ha admitted that he was not Seo Joo-Heon, but he wouldn't let the man in and asked him why he was looking for Seo Joo-Heon, but the man insisted on meeting Seo Joo-Heon. Yoo Ji-ha was annoyed that the man kept insisting on it. Yoo Ji-ha closed the door because the man wouldn't give a reason to meet Seo Joo-Heon. The man in front of there continued to bang on the door and forced Yoo Ji-ha to open it, but Seo Joo-Heon came to meet Yoo Ji-ha in front of the door and asked who was looking for him. Yoo Ji-ha only said that the person in front of there was just a rude person. It was seen that the man was still banging on the door hard and forcing to meet Seo Joo-Heon. Seo Joo-Heon inevitably opened the door and met him. The man in front was happy to meet Seo Joo-Heon, while Seo Joo-Heon was surprised to see the man. Seo Joo-Heon realized that the man in front was Sung-jae, who was the second son of Seo Joo-Heon. When Sung-jae wanted to give his business card, Seo Joo-Heon refused the card, because he already knew that the man in front of him at this time was the second son of CEO Kwon. Meanwhile, Sung-jae was happy that Seo Joo-Heon could recognize him, and suddenly Sung-jae asked Seo Joo-Heon to work under his orders. Sung-jae offered a lot of money to Seo Joo-Heon, but Seo Joo-Heon still didn't understand why Sung-jae wanted to hire him. Sung-jae then explained that he was at odds with his brother because he wanted to be the main heir to CEO Kwon, but his brother kept blocking him. Sung-jae asked Seo Joo-Heon to work with him because of the talent that Seo Joo-Heon had. Seo Joo-Heon was interested when he found out that Sung-jae came to his place by himself, but Seo Joo-Heon refused Sung-jae's offer to hire him, because Sung-jae had to offer him something more interesting if he wanted Seo Joo-Heon to work for him. Seo Joo-Heon intends to make the most of this opportunity. Seo Joo-Heon wanted Sung-jae to offer him more money if he really wanted to hire Seo Joo-Heon, but I don't know what Sung-jae was thinking. He wanted to offer a beautiful woman to Seo Joo-Heon instead. But unfortunately, Seo Joo-Heon didn't need that, and Seo Joo-Heon showed a picture of herself with Irene, which made Sung-jae surprised. Sung-jae felt defeated now when Seo Joo-Heon showed a picture of Irene. But Seo Joo-Heon has another thing he wants, which is the relic. Seo Joo-Heon repeats Sung-jae words where he will take CEO Kwon's position, and that means Sung-jae will get all of CEO Kwon's relic. But Seo Joo-Heon doesn't care about CEO Kwon's excavation team. Seo Joo-Heon also says if Sung-jae has to share half of CEO Kwon's relic with him, which of course makes him not accept it. Sung-jae didn't understand why he had to hire Seo Joo-Heon if he was going to take half of his father's collection. Seo Joo-Heon then lowered it to 30% of CEO Kwon's entire relic on the condition that Seo Joo-Heon could choose his own relic. Seo Joo-Heon wouldn't let Sung-jae count and he immediately persuaded Sung-jae back. Sung-jae agreed, but he would not tell the use of the relic taken by Seo Joo-Heon. Seo Joo-Heon smiled hearing that and he agreed to his offer. Sung-jae was also happy that Seo Joo-Heon agreed to his offer, and the agreement was successfully formed. What Sung-jae didn't know was that Seo Joo-Heon could easily find out information from CEO Kwon's relic with the help of the crow, and Sung-jae casually wanted Seo Joo-Heon to serve him a cup of coffee since they had agreed to the deal. Seo Joo-Heon told Yoo Ji-ha, who whispered to him that it wasn't a big deal and they should talk about it in detail. Seo Joo-Heon invited Sung-jae to enter his house. A can of energy drink was served in front of the table. Sung-jae asked for something else, but unfortunately there was only that drink in Seo Joo-Heon's house. But Seo Joo-Heon did not want to question the drink and wanted to hear the plan from Sung-jae. Seo Joo-Heon then mentioned a little about Sung-jae's relationship with his brother, but Sung-jae's attention was distracted when he felt some high-quality relics in Seo Joo-Heon's house. Sung-jae was surprised to hear that Seo Joo-Heon kept his relics at home unlike him, who kept them in a safe place. After hearing that Seo Joo-Heon kept all his relics in the house, Sung-jae used his dominance and intended to take all the relics belonging to Seo Joo-Heon. Seo Joo-Heon did not like seeing that, but he tried to calm down. But Sung-jae did not listen to Seo Joo-Heon's reasoning and preferred to continue using his power because he felt the most powerful here and he could do whatever he wanted. Seo Joo-Heon, who heard that, just smiled and instead challenged Sung-jae to use his power. Seo Joo-Heon even pretended to be weak, and it succeeded in making Sung-jae even more confident. Yoo Ji-ha panicked because he was afraid that Sung-jae would be able to take all the relics, but from inside the room Set and Anubis came because they felt the commotion where Seo Joo-Heon was. Sung-jae, who saw Set, tried to use his power on Set, and with that Sung-jae used his dominance to subdue Set and Anubis. The relics of Anubis and Set were slightly affected by Sung-jae's power, and finally they returned to their original form as relics. Seo Joo-Heon seemed to use this opportunity to analyze the ability of Sung-jae, which turned out to be better than he thought. Everyone there was surprised when they saw Sung-jae trying to take the relic. After that, Sung-jae pulled the two relics and caught them with both hands. Everyone there panicked and asked Seo Joo-Heon to do something before they really lost the relic, but Seo Joo-Heon was still silent and watched him. Slowly Sung-jae increased his strength to dominate the relic. Sung-jae seemed to flinch when he saw his hand that began to rot from trying to conquer Set's relic, and immediately Set removed himself from his relic form and looked at Sung-jae sharply for daring to do something like this to him. And with Set's anger, he attacked Sung-jae and made him bounce away. Sung-jae saw the condition of his burnt and charred hands, and from the front Set approached with a look full of intimidation. Set launched his attack and tried to bite Sung-jae, after which Set fought with Sung-jae, which was only seen by all of them there. Seo Joo-Heon then explained that Sung-jae could not make Set obey him because Set's strength was not enough to dominate Set. Seo Joo-Heon again explained that Sung-jae needed more power than Seo Joo-Heon to break his relationship with Set and conquer him, because the stronger the user's dominance, the more difficult it would be for others to dominate the relic, and there Set was seen biting Sung-jae's head. Sung-jae couldn't believe what was happening because in Pandora, his dominance power was higher than Seo Joo-Heon. Seo Joo-Heon smiled because now he knew why Sung-jae was so confident in his power and wanted to take the relic. Seo Joo-Heon intended to teach Sung-jae a lesson for daring to challenge him. Seo Joo-Heon unleashed a huge amount of power. Even Sung-jae there was surprised to see Seo Joo-Heon's power. Seo Joo-Heon couldn't understand why Sung-jae was so confident even though he didn't get the real information, and Seo Joo-Heon then mocked Sung-jae, who didn't understand how this world worked. Seo Joo-Heon never gave the original information about his power to Pandora, so Pandora only knew half of Seo Joo-Heon's original power. Seo Joo-Heon stared and still looked down on Sung-jae, who came here without knowing anything. Seo Joo-Heon intended to kill Sung-jae if he was someone else, but decided against it because Sung-jae had to open CEO Kwon's safe for him. Seo Joo-Heon asked Sung-jae to thank him for not killing Sung-jae, and Seo Joo-Heon also asked for money to repair his house because thanks to Sung-jae's power his house had fallen apart and become chaotic. But Sung-jae did not accept because what made almost everything chaotic was Seo Joo-Heon's own power. But Seo Joo-Heon threatened Sung-jae, who cursed and scolded him. Seo Joo-Heon told Sung-jae to call him brother, which Sung-jae inevitably had to obey. Seo Joo-Heon told Sung-jae to make a list of the properties he destroyed and replace them with new ones. After that, Seo Joo-Heon called the rope relic because a moment ago the rope relic seemed to want money. Therefore, Seo Joo-Heon told the rope relic to ask Sung-jae for it. The rope relic was very happy and he approached Sung-jae and demanded the money. Meanwhile, Set cooperated with Seo Joo-Heon to give him a compensation fee for attacking him mentally. The rope relic reconfirmed to Seo Joo-Heon if he could really ask for money from Sung-jae, and Seo Joo-Heon agreed, after which the rope relic moved closer and prepared to force Sung-jae to give him money. Sung-jae shouted loudly as the rope relic started to do something with him. Will the rope relic get the money? And what about CEO Kwon's safe?